Welcome to Conflict Managed. I'm your host, Mary Brown. Conflict Managed is a weekly podcast about toxic work environments and how to fix them. We're glad you're here. Good morning, Shalin, and welcome to Conflict Managed.
Good morning, Mary.
How
Thanks
are
for
you
having me.
doing today?
Fantastic. How are you?
Wonderful. I see the sun is shining. I know we're going to have a wonderful conversation. So, to get us started, I would like to hear about the first job you ever had as a young person.
I'll talk about the two first jobs that I had. The very first job I had was uh, I was working at Burger King when I went to school in Buffalo, New York. This was many years ago. And then my real job, as if you were to call that, was I'm an engineer by profession. I have my master's in engineering. Was working for I started joined the company as an intern, a manufacturing company, automotive company in Michigan, and then I was hired full time there, and now I work for a different employer, but in a similar field.
So, let's start with Burger King. What was that like as a first job experience? What was the atmosphere like? Was it welcoming? Was it difficult? What was going on there?
Well, there are a lot of new things, and I'm originally from India, and I just moved to Buffalo, and the part of India I'm from is more like Phoenix, hot, sunny, dry. And then of all the places I could have gone to, have ended up going to Buffalo. So it was a very interesting part of my life. It was interesting time in my life, and uh, the job was okay. New things to learn, new the way, and it wasn't that bad. Like I was working as a cashier, so it wasn't that bad. It's just that what I was going through in my personal life
Mhm.
was kind of exacerbating, was kind of making my job or working there a bit more stressful compared to what it should have been.
Hmm.
And that's what I've seen in my life personally also is, and working with so many people around the country now, is that it's a combination of both the things many times, what you go through at work and what's going through in your personal life also.
That's so well said. I mean, what a way to see it in relief. You know, you're moving countries, climates, right? And navigating growing up, right? So there's these huge things going on. And so it's easy to see there would be these added stressors because of these huge life changes that you're going through. And yet it brings into relief that that's all of our story. We don't just show up to work as if we're these blank pages and we're just showing up and nothing else is going on, such as did we eat? Did we eat well? Did we sleep? Did we sleep well? You know, the families, financial issues, economic, social issues, all of that stuff, but we're still showing up to work, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, that is a interesting, I'm sure interesting, very formative experience for you.
And it was good. I mean, looking back, it was not easy. It was tough. That was one of the tough times of my life, but it kind of shapes you. I found that many times when you get certain hardships, when you go through these things, there are two options. One is you run away from the situation, you're trying
Mhm.
to escape, or you just be there and go through it and you come out of it stronger. And the funny thing is, I'm at a point in my life where, so I'm a director of programs for Art of Living. It's one of the world's largest not-profit organizations with presence in 180 countries around the globe. So, and I teach the breathing exercises, art of living, sky breathing, breathing exercises around the. I've traveled and taught programs in 63 cities around the country. So now, when I look back where I am now, where I was before, any time in my life when I try to escape a situation or try to run away from a situation, it ends up coming back to you. It's like it come you, if it's not this employer, it's a second employer, somebody else, it ends up coming back to you. And unless and until you learn the skills to navigate through that, to work through that, and you make yourself strong to handle those things, because there are two aspects to any conflict. One is, of course, a situation, and I don't want to discount what people go through. And sometimes people do work in toxic environments, and I don't want to discount that. But at the same time, I found that people who are strong, who are more balanced, who are more centered, they're able to handle these toxic places in a much better way, much and they come out of it as a winner instead of getting affected by it.
Absolutely. And I love how just well you put it. Either we run away from it or we go through it. But the illusion is that we can run away from it, right? As you said, it's
Exactly.
gonna
Yeah.
come back in some way. As you said, either the next employer or just in our own person, in our bodies, in our minds, and how, you know, I also hear you talking about resilience, right? Resilience is not lack of hardship. It's what are we doing in the hardship, right? And so how are we making ourselves through life? And life is filled with everything, the awful, the wonderful, and mostly the in between where we put
Yeah,
gas in our car and do our laundry, right? And so this idea of not escaping because we're never really escaping, right? But we're just delaying, which usually makes it harder to learn the lesson or to progress.
exactly.
So tell us about engineering. Why engineering? Why did you choose that?
You know, looking back, I also wonder why did I choose that? But but since I was school, I've always liked math, as that was one thing that I really enjoyed doing. I didn't enjoy biology, literature, and all that, but math was came very easily to me. So it was just a natural progression to kind of. I like that my dad is also an engineer. He's a mechanical engineer, and I also ended up becoming a mechanic. I have my bachelor's in mechanical and master's in industrial. So I think multiple things. Math was good. My dad was an engineer, so it kind of inspired you also to go to similar thing. And I, brief just something about me more than my engineering. I do that. I really enjoy that. And then in 1997, I was 16 years old, and my mom introduced me to the breath work. As I was mentioning earlier, this called the sky breathing. She introduced me to that, and she was going through some tough times in her life back then, and nothing else was helping. And then she ended up doing this program, and it really helped her, and she didn't stop there. She kind of got me and my brother also into it, and she's like, this is things that, and I'm very close with my mom, and I'm like, she's like, this is something that will really help you guys. Now when I look back, that is one thing, one skill set that I've learned that has helped me throughout my life, throughout my career. Majority of 80 to 90% of the things I learned in my engineering school, I'm not applying those things in my life anymore. I know it's like I've spent thousands of dollars, years and years getting formal education. I mean, when you go to the workplace, you have different things that you have to work through. I'm not using those, but that is one skill set that she kind of introduced me and my brother to that has really come handy. And that's what I tell people when I teach this. I've been practicing it for some time, and then about 20 years ago, I decided that I want to teach these programs to people, because this is something, life skills is something that people really need. I always tell people, you take shower every day, bodily hygiene. You brush your teeth every day, dental hygiene. And when you do this breathing exercise and meditation, it's a mental hygiene.
Hmm.
And the more people practice this thing, the more people are calm, the more they're centered, more resilient they are, more they're able to deal with these difficult situations. Otherwise, I've seen people like, I'll share an anecdote. So I was teaching this program, and I'd gone to California to teach the Art of Living's breathwork program. And there was this couple who were on the course, both super successful. The guy is a pediatric um, gastroenterologist. His wife is pediatric cardiologist, super specialized doctor, super successful. And they really enjoyed the course. And then they messaged me that they want to connect with me a week after. So I got on a call with them. And they're like, Shalin, this thing has been a game changer for us. The wife was like, we go through, even, I mean, they're very successful. I mean, like, even though we've been doing this for so long, what really, whenever we come home, we would bring the stress at home. And the interesting thing is, she's like, even when we were with our kids, it's just that we're not fully with them because the stress is with us all the time. And she's like, after taking the program, I realized that the minds are so calm, we're so quiet, and we're able to be so centered. Now, when we are at home, we're 100% with the kids.
Hmm.
And to me, it's a small thing, but it's a big deal, because the stress that you carry from what you're going through at workplace, it just doesn't stay limited to the workplace. It spills over to all the aspects of your life.
Yes. Absolutely. So are you still an engineer or do you work full time for the Art of
No,
Living Foundation?
I am an engineer and I also volunteer and teach the programs with Art of Living.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
how did you decide that that is a passion project of yours? So I hear that you saw the benefit of it, but it's one thing to do it yourself and maybe even, train people every once in a while, but you were very involved. What was it? Was it just that you saw how helpful it was and needed and this basic sort of hygiene that people are unaware of?
Yeah, that one thing is for sure. Like it really helped me, and I would look back and I'm like, I have all these things, I have this master's in engineering, but if I didn't have these tools with me, this skill set with me, I would not be able to navigate my workplace the way I was able to navigate. And uh, to be honest, I would also see some of my colleagues who were way more brilliant engineers than I was, way more intelligent, way more smart engineers than I was, but somehow they were not able to get the most out of their work, or either the relationship with her boss was not great, or something. There's a hard skills and there's soft skills, and the hard skills were very strong, super strong, but the soft skills were really lacking, and that's something that came very handy for me. I'll share another funny incident. During our annual reviews at work, one of the annual reviews, my boss wrote in my performance review that Shalin is the only guy I see smiling on a Monday morning. And I did not know it was that big of a deal. But at your work also, people like to be around people who are pleasant, who are easy to work with. And again, we don't want to negate having difficult people to work with, difficult supervisors to work with, but what is in our control, we don't cannot always control what the other party does, but we can control what we do and how we react. So I saw those things, Mary, and I'm like, this is something everyone should try. The art of living breathing exercise. I'm like, everyone should try. It can benefit everyone. And now I even teach these programs in a lot of companies, a lot of corporations. I've taught in a lot of Fortune 100 companies programs. It's been very helpful.
You brought up something that I think is really important for people to hear, myself included, is that if we are waiting for a good work environment, or we can only have a good work environment when we have a boss that resonates with us, or we like all of our coworkers, all, as you said, all these external things, then we are really putting ourselves in a precarious situation. We are at the mercy of somebody else's maybe emotional state,
Yeah.
that they stay or leave, and we're waiting for them. We need them to act for us to feel good, for us to have a healthy work environment. And certainly, I also never want to minimize when there really are bad behaviors, when people are misbehaving, of course. But if we see that what we can control, like we can control our mood, which is amazing, right? I mean,
Exactly.
that's really amazing because many times we think, well, I'm irritated because of you. I'm irritated because of what's going on outside of me in my community or wherever it might be. And so I am not happy because of the outside. And that is a narrative that people can choose to have, but it is a disempowering narrative when we see, oh, mood, that is something that I can control, I can think about, I can start to want to regulate. That does not mean that we don't have bad days or that we're unaffected by things. But mood, which I don't think we pay much attention to, is largely within our control or our outlook or how we're choosing to think about somebody else's behavior as about them rather than they see some deficiency in us or something like that.
You absolutely nailed it. That's exactly what it is. It's like, we cannot control the external factors. We just cannot. But what we do have say over our moods, or how resilient we can be, or how centered we can be when the situations come. Many years ago, I'd watched this movie. I'm sure you've heard, Horrible Bosses.
Yes.
And yeah, this is a funny movie. These three guys, they have difficult bosses, but it's funny in a movie. But when you're going through it, it's not that funny.
No.
And at the same time, you cannot always hire a hitman or try to run away from the situation. For most people, for majority of the people I work with, they have to stay put and they have
Mhm.
to deal with it. It's not like you always have the luxury of going and finding a different job and everything, especially with what's going on right now, with the whole economy and all that. It's not that easy, but what's easy is to train your own mind to deal with this kind of situation, to
Mhm.
train your own mind to let it not affect you, train your own mind to have that pleasantness within you, that happiness within you, realizing that the external factors are not going to give me joy or happiness. The happiness is somewhere within. And when we do that, then that's when we start living a life, as an expression of happiness and not just as a pursuit of happiness.
Beautiful. I just heard yesterday, and this was more applying, I think, to dating, but I think it also works with what we're talking about. And so this person said, imagine that you go home and you're famished and you want something really yummy to eat, and but you're tired and you're thirsty and you go and you look through your kitchen and there's nothing. You just have nothing in the cupboards and maybe the water's not even turned on and you are just so parched. And somebody comes to the door and they've got a pizza and they say, would you like this pizza? Uh, if the only condition is I have to come in your house and we're going to eat it together. Well, if you're in this really famished state, right, and you've just been, rummaging around your place and you're parched and you're tired and you're really hungry, you're going to might let this stranger in so that you can eat this pizza. But imagine if your fridge is stocked with fresh fruits and vegetables, and you've been having a wonderful sleep regime, and you are hydrated, and you're fed in this way. And then somebody comes to the door with this pizza and says, hey, you want this free pizza, but you have to invite me in. You're probably going to say, no, thanks, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's really interesting, like what we invite in, but we don't always notice it. So we think these outside things are making me. But then the question is, well, how did I show up in the first place? Right? What am I looking at when that door opens? What am I needing from the outside? And we are persons and we do have needs. We have universal needs and wants, and we need connection and we want to be treated with dignity and respect, right? But if we're always looking for that from the outside because we don't have the internal resources, then we're at the mercy of what comes through that door, right? Is this a well-made pizza from somebody who
Mhm.
has good intentions, or is this, not with somebody who does have bad intentions? And so what are we willing to let in has a lot, and how we process what we're letting in has a lot to do with how we're showing up. And that's what we can control is how we're showing up, and therefore what we even see at the door, what we even see in the other person who is minimizing me, trying to get me in trouble, trying to whatever, we can see that as a lack in them instead of a lack in us.
Exactly, exactly. That's what it is. And Mary, what I found is the interesting thing is many times people know this thing that,
Mm,
I this is what I'm going through. I have to deal with it. The good thing is a lot of parents when I talk to people, they realize that they need to change few things, they need to tweak few things on what they let in, what they don't let in. But what people find difficult is how to do it,
mm,
how to have that strength. I always tell people, like, neither at home nor at school we've ever been taught how to deal with your own mind. We have been told don't get angry, don't get stressed. We've been told not don't get these negative emotions. We've been told all those things, and we all know those things. There are books and libraries of books with about living in the present moment. Be your own thing, whatnot. But uh, those things are in the books. But how to apply that in your life is the key. And coming back to the breath, that's what I found, that the breath is such a beautiful, it's a secret to make the to have a good to say have a say over your mind, because your mind is very tricky, very interesting. You cannot control where your mind goes. It goes in so many different directions. It's like you fly a kite, it goes in so many different directions, but with the help of the string you can manage the kite. And breath is that string. With
mm,
the help of the breath is something which is with us all the time. You're able to manage your mind. you're able to control your mind, you're able to calm your mind. And the more we tap into, we take maybe eat about 4 to 6 pounds of food every day. Maybe we eat half a gallon of water every day, or I know, but we breathe about 28,000 gallons of air every day. We put so much attention on, as you mentioned, hydrating yourself. We put so much attention on eating the right food, but we barely put any attention on the breath. And I found that when people attend to the breath, especially with the help of the breath work and all that we do, it's so effective. Uh, One of the recent studies that we had on the sky breathing that is taught in the Art of Living program, it was done at Yale University, and they found at Yale that when the students practice, because it's no longer that okay, you join a workplace and you get stressed, you have anxiety. We are seeing anxiety in students. I mean, at such young age in kids, we are saying, and they found that when the students were doing the sky breathing that we teach in the Art of Living program, all the stress markers, the cortisol, everything went down, anxiety went down, symptoms of depression went down, and the well-being hormone went up, the oxytocin went up just by practicing the breath work. So there's so much science. you know you asked me about me being an engineer. So I have a logical mind. For me, when I started practicing this thing, I'm like, this is good, but what's the science behind it? I was always very curious about that. And now we have so much science behind this, how this helps reducing your stress hormone, increases your well-being hormone. And that is something that we all need. I I always I it's a joke, but it's a fact that our entire human race, we have two things in common. One is that we all breathe, and second is that we all are stressed. We all experience some extent of stress, and with the help of the breath, you can much better navigate the stress in your life.
It's such a you said that so eloquently of the fact that I imagine just about every listener knows these things, right? Like what can I control and what I can't control. And then the question is the how, right? The practical, because all the words in all the books, the question is in the concrete particular. But what about me? How is that going to help me right now, today, in this situation in which I find myself? And dear listener, if you're not in a situation right now, just wait a few minutes because it's around the corner because we're part of the human community and things come up, right? So, what would you tell somebody? How do they start to tap into the string, this breath, so that they can have all the benefits that you just talked about?
Sure. So, I mean, they can go to our website. It's artofliving.org. I love the name. It's a beautiful name, Art of Living, and .org. They can go on the website. We have different programs that they can attend, and they can start benefiting from it right away. And it's what we like about the programs that we teach. And we are teaching this around the country. Almost in every city, we have the programs. We also have it online. What I like about that is you learn it from a live instructor. And once you've done it, you have lifelong access to that instructor. And anytime you have any questions, they can guide you through it. Because when I started teaching, I would get people like who have tried different meditations and all, and they're like, I've tried meditation. I sit with my eyes closed, and all I do is daydreaming or work on my to-do list. So it's like, you know, I tell people that trying to do meditation from an app or from a YouTube is like trying to learn swimming, watching a YouTube video.
Hmm.
You need someone to guide you, to kind of, hold your hand, to tell you, this is what you do, this is what you don't do. And that's where it's so go on there. That's what's very, very effective I found with the programs, is that somebody's there to able to guide through it. And at the same time, after you've taken the program, you have weekly meetups, so they can attend it online or in person. So it's very effective in people being able to continue the practices after they've learned, because many times people have this concern that I'm very good at starting something, I'm very good at learning something new, but I'm not able to follow through. And
Right.
so that we don't have that issue, because we have such amazing support structure. Once they've taken the program, they can keep tapping onto it and continue with it. So majority of the people who have taken the program, they keep doing it, they keep practicing it afterwards.
So this way of breathing, is it a form of meditation? Is it not? Is it both and?
Good question, very good question. It's both actually. So, see, meditation, many times people think there's a big misconception about meditation is that meditation is concentration. And sometimes you sit with your eyes closed and you try to concentrate, you try to focus, you end up having headache after some time. And I tell people, don't make your meditation practice one more reason to be stressful about. Don't stress about your meditation because people try to sit with their eyes closed, you focus, 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 and I've seen this some memes about from Kung Fu Panda, like come on, peace of mind. I don't have the whole day. It's kind of that kind of a thing, you know. So if people try to do those things that don't work. What's unique about the sky breath meditation is that with the help of the breath work, you sit, you breathe in certain rhythms, a guided breathing technique. You sit and breathe in certain rhythm and certain way, and at the end of it, the mind naturally comes to a meditative state of mind. So it's not like you have to do something to be to that state, to get to that state. And for most people, it doesn't work. But with the help of this breathing exercise, your mind is naturally in the meditative state. When I first did this thing, and I was 16 years old, and I mean, to be honest, I don't think I had many stresses in my life at that back then. And the first time I practiced the sky breathing, I was blown away, blown away. I mean, I had never felt that light in my entire life. That day, when I went to bed in the night, uh, I woke up in the morning, and I'm a good sleeper. I'm even now. Back then also I was a good sleeper, but I I don't remember waking up so fresh. And I'm like, whoa, this is something cool because nowadays a lot of people like I teach, I connect with, uh, sleep is a big issue. Sleep and anxiety is a huge issue. Even when they sleep, let's say they take some medications and stuff. You wake up, you don't wake up fresh. And imagine if there is a way where you sleep through the night and you wake up in the morning so fresh every single day, not just once or twice a week, every single day, and you look forward to your life. Such a beautiful way of living the life, and there is a way to do that. It's not something that you just hear in some books or anything like that. I I tell people that this is something everyone can experience and benefit from it.
So I have a question for you, which in people's busy lives, I think, okay, great. Now I've got to add one more thing to my busy schedule. So somebody might think, okay, if I'm going to embark on breathing better, how long does this practice typically take?
You know, so Mahatma Gandhi used to say that he would always say that today I'm so busy, I'm so busy. I don't have time to meditate for 20 minutes. Today I'm so busy. I have to meditate for 1 hour.
Right.
So the more busy you are, the more you have going on in your life, the more is the need for this thing. That is for sure. People often think, when I have free time, I'm going to learn this thing. When I joke with people that people always think I'll do it in summer, I'll do it in winter. And sometimes people say, once I retire, I'm going to learn this thing. So it's not something that you do when you have a lot of free time. In fact, it's something, the more busy you are, the more is the need for this thing. And as long as how soon people can start benefiting from it, my experience, as I shared, and when I learned it myself, I saw it from day one. And when I teach, it works right away. It's not like you have to do it for 6 months and then you start seeing some benefits. For me, when I learned, I felt, as I mentioned, I felt very light. I felt much happier. I felt very fresh. And the biggest thing that made me continue with it was that I realized that my focus and my concentration really improved. And I didn't have to spend so much time doing my schoolwork. I had more time to play, to hang out with friends and stuff. And I'm like, this is not bad, I'm putting less time, I'm getting more out of it. I'm like, this is pretty cool. So that's how I kind of continued with it. And it works from day one.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. If you are so stressed, you have so much going on, right? You can't afford not to, right? Because if we don't have our mental health and our physical health, then, it takes more time. Everything takes more time.
Yeah.
Everything's more labor intensive. So since you've been practicing this for your whole adult life, I want you to maybe think about conflict, like how you deal with conflict at work. And since you have had this in your back pocket, you have been practicing this. I'm sure you've gotten better, obviously, as the decades have gone on. But as a younger person, maybe when you first began being an engineer, how did you deal with conflict at work? And has that changed as where you are right now?
One of my first experiences, I joined this company as an automotive engineer, and it was one of the people that I used to work for, and as an intern, and then I continued full time with them, was very strong type A personality. I mean, things have to be very loud, things have to be their way. And sometimes you're in meetings with a client and they'll end up saying things that were not exactly very respectful. And I would think, you know what? I also know what I'm doing. And even if you disagree or you just don't like what I've done, you can always mention it to me one on one. You don't offline, you don't have to do it in front of everyone. So that is one of the examples. I mean, as you work, we all deal with different personalities and different people. And what really helped me, because what I was doing is that I didn't go into the reactionary mode where I kind of, didn't get into a pissing contest with them. Many times I've seen people get very angry, and they're right, they're rightfully angry, and you get into a pissing contest. And many times you get into this pissing contest with the person in authority, and you end up losing it because you end up getting the short end of the stick because the supervisor or the person of authority always has more power than you do. So, and for me, what really helped me because of my breath work and all, I didn't get that. Even though it was bothering me, I won't lie. It's not like it wasn't bothering me. It was definitely bothering me. I was getting irritated, but I didn't get into that mode of reacting to it right away and
Mm,
doing something that I would end up regretting afterwards.
mm,
So this happened a few times with this person, with the supervisor. And then once I went to his office and I talked to him, and I was talking, I realized that he was a bit of a pleasant mood at back then. And I told him that, I appreciate that all the things that you have done and that you're doing. You really know what you're doing. And I said, I just have a request. Sometimes when you mention this in front of everyone on calls and stuff, it doesn't it's not very, I don't feel very respectful at back then. I'm like, and I told them that I understand where you're coming from. You want to fix, you want to make sure that I do better in what I'm doing and I improve in my career. I know that you're looking out for me. This is one thing I have a concern about, this thing. And I just mentioned so nicely in a manner that that person, back when I mentioned to him, he became very defensive back then. But it's like, no, no, I have to do this. But after that, he stopped doing it,
mm,
and he started giving me good performance reviews also after that. And what helped me was that dealing with the situation with a calm, peaceful state of mind made a huge difference.
mm,
Because many times I've seen people, you're in a situation where you don't like, and you go, and when emotions take a front seat, logic takes a back seat, and the emotions come so strong
mhm,
that you lose your effective way of communicating what you really want to communicate. And then you don't have, because when the emotions are so strong, the communication is not effective. You're not able to get through what you want to get through, and it ends up being counterproductive.
mm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when we react instead of respond, we have
Yeah,
limited our options and
exactly.
many times spoken things that we later regret. And so I think this is really, I want to pursue this line of thinking. I think it's really important. Sometimes people come into thinking about conflict management, um, or getting better at this sort of navigating conflict as I want to be done with conflict. I want to be done with the upset. I want to be done with things bothering me. And from my point of view, well, I can understand that, but that's an inhuman. It's not going to happen. We are going to be upset. Things are going to bother us. And so the point of getting better at dealing with conflict is not to have no emotional responses, right? To become like computers, but to integrate our emotional responses with our values, with so that they're hand in hand with the kind of life that we want to live, so that we are not tossed about by our emotions, but that we can make sense of them and act on them instead of them acting on us. I don't know, that we can act on them in a way that is fruitful, right? So sometimes it's like, I'm going to fly the flag of my emotions, or I'm going to deny them and stuff them all down. And
Mhm.
neither, I think, is really beneficial.
Exactly.
Emotions
Exactly.
are really good information, and we need to understand them, but understand them in the right way. So can you talk a little bit more about how, I mean, do you agree? Or maybe you have a different perspective that we're not trying to, completely be stoic
No,
and
exactly. No, you got it. That's it. That's what it is. See, it's e- even to regulate your emotions and channel your emotions in the right way. It's very important, very important. And emotions come. I mean, we need the emotions. I tell people it's anger is not always a bad thing. Sometimes, but getting angry and showing anger are two different things. When you deal with your kids, you work with your kids, you have to show anger. It's not like a parent, as a father, it's not like I stay angry with my daughter, with my son for days. You have to certain times you have to show certain anger to get things in the right way. So emotions are a very important part of who we are. There's no way we can suppress. In fact, when you suppress them, they always come out the wrong way. And coming back to the breath, I always teach, there's a connection between breath and emotions.
mm,
So if you see, how's your breath when you're happy? It's much lighter, effortless breathing. How's the breath when you're frustrated? Sometimes it's like a long sigh. Remember that? Like, we do that.
mhm,
And how's the breath when you're angry? It's fast, it's heated. There's a connection between breath and emotions. And the interesting thing is the reverse is also true. With the help of the breath, you're much able to manage your emotions.
mm,
So emotions is what makes us a human being. We are human because we have emotions. But how to better regulate your emotions, how to let your emotions work for you instead of you working for your emotions.
mm,
It's the key, it's the mastery that we all need to learn.
mm,
And when we have that, when you have a say over that, any situation you have, we live as you mentioned a few times, we live in a world. We live where we are different personalities. And no matter how good you are, what you do, you're always going to interact and come across people who are difficult or who are different personalities, and you are not necessarily bad people, but different than who you are or how you would do things. And that's where this emotional regulation, this say over your mind, having that calm, peaceful mind comes so handy, so handy. It's like, uh, I don't know if you watch football, but I love watching football. And Tom Brady, as you all know, is like best quarterback in my, like we have seen in football in long. I'm from Indianapolis. I follow Colts. I was never a big fan of Brady, but over a period of so many years, I've come to admire him. And what's really really cool about the guy is that no matter how stressful or how behind they are, he's calm, he's centered, he's able to not getting affected by the situation, he's able to make the right throws in the right play the right game. And that's what sets you apart, is that
mm,
when different things are coming at you, how you're still able to maintain your calm and peace and deal with the adversity that is staring at your face.
mm. Absolutely. And I love you said this word that I just think is so beautiful. It's handy, right? This handy that's being able to emotionally regulate yourself, right? I mean, talk about hand. I mean, it's just such a great word because it's so useful to be able to do this because we don't know when we might be triggered. We don't know when and we're just at lunch and then all of a sudden something happens or somebody we're with says something that we feel like is completely out of the blue. So, and we get escalated. Okay, so what are we going to do next, right? So sometimes things just happen, and that's life. Things happen to us. And then the question is, how are we going to respond and react, right? And so if we have trained ourselves, and as you said, being able to emotionally regulate, we hear lots about people being dysregulated, and we hear a lot about emotional intelligence. And as you've said earlier, not much about how to actually accomplish these things.
Yeah.
And so I hear that you say from day one, trying this method, is it? is it hard, do you think? I mean, I know you've been practicing it since you were a teenager, but is it hard to make it a habit? Is it constantly being mindful of it? Is that what somebody should be expect? Or is it like driving? Once you've learned, it just becomes second nature? Or is it someplace else in the middle?
So it's both, yes. And it's not like you have to be constantly aware or mindful. And that doesn't work for people. Like you have to constantly keep reminding yourself, oh, let me be mindful, let me be mindful. It can cause so much stress, telling yourself constantly to be mindful. Instead of that, you naturally train your mind to be like that, to be more present. And that's what the breath work does. It's not like, so, I was talking to one of my friends. His wife took the program with me, and then after a couple of weeks, we got in together. Well, all of us had gotten together. Our families had gotten together for dinner, and I was asking how's her practice going. She's like, I'm loving it, and she's like, but I still get angry. I still keep getting angry at my daughter. And then I'm like, that's fine, but how long does the anger stay now? And she's like, that's what the difference is, though. I get angry, but the anger doesn't stay that long anymore. And that's the thing. It's after taking the program, you're still going to be human. You're still going to get the emotions. You're still going to get angry. You're still going to get stressed. But those things won't stay very long. Those things won't become your second nature.
Hmm.
And it's just you keep practicing every day. And for me and millions of people around the globe who have taken the program, uh, it comes easy to continue with. It becomes very easy to practice. And once you keep practicing for some time, then naturally it becomes starts becoming your true nature.
Hmm.
You know, it's like back in the olden days. mm, I mean, how they would dye a cloth is that, take a white cloth, put that in the red dye, and then leave it outside in the sun to dry for the entire day. By the end of the day, most of the color has faded away. Again, you soak it in the night. Again, you put it out there. You did do it for 5, 6 times. After that, the color is so strong it doesn't fade away.
Mhm.
Same thing with the breath work. You start practicing it every day, it just starts becoming your second nature. You won't have to put an effort. You don't have to keep reminding yourself that be mindful or anything like that. You, your mind gets trained that way naturally,
Mhm.
effortlessly.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, when we think about like developing habits or developing virtues, right? You don't, to get them, it takes some effort, obviously, and practice. But once you have practiced and you can develop this sort of muscle memory, kind
Mhm.
of like driving a car, right?
Yeah.
If you know how to drive a car and then one day you sit in the driver's seat and you're like, now what am I supposed to do? Don't drive, right? If you have that thought, right? Because it should be
Yeah.
normalized to you um if you do it habitually, or it can become a part of
Mhm.
you. I think it can sound scary so like I spent most of my life conflict avoidant, stuffing down my emotions, trying to control other people around me, their emotional states, right? It's a real people pleaser. And so to think about sitting with anger or jealousy or bitterness, right? Like, why would I ever do something so horrible as that? Why would I ever entertain these kinds of emotional responses as if they're the enemy and I'm not allowed to feel these sorts of things? But I have found in my own journey that when I don't label emotions like that, and if I actually sit, because I probably the rest of my life will be in this process, but I say, okay, Mary, it's okay. Now, what are you feeling right now? I still am intellectualizing things. It's still not so easy just to feel it, but I'm trying more to sit. And it is, as you say, it's so interesting that when I sit with something that I don't like, anger or jealousy or bitterness or discontent, whatever it might be, it doesn't last. It's not devastating like I thought it was going to be. And it
Mhm.
doesn't last and it doesn't linger. And then I'm free to do something else, to think something else, to move on. It's really quite amazing.
It is. It is. It's magical. I feel like every single kid. I have a 14-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son, and we got them also introduced to this thing at a very early age because you mentioned the emotional regulation is so important, and we found that it's really helping them in their schools, in how they deal with their friends, how they deal with their parents. So this is something I feel like every single human being should experience this thing and benefit from it, because as a human race, in one aspect, we have progressed so much. We have made so much technological advances and whatnot. We have iPhones and computers, and we can do all kind of stuff. But in certain aspects of our life, I believe we have gone in the wrong direction. I saw research from CDC, Center for a study from Center for Disease Control. This was in 2020, that more than one-fourth of the American population is either suffering from anxiety or depression. And this was 6 years ago. I'm sure it's gotten worse now.
Yeah.
So, what good is all the comforts in your life, all the technological advances in your life, having Netflix, anybody when you want to watch a show, you can watch. What good is all those things when you can't be happy, when you can't be joyful?
Mm.
So at some point of time, we have to come back to, and being joyful, being happy is our nature. When we kind of do this breathing exercise and all, we tap into that inner core of joy, that happiness. So it's not like you're learning to be happy, you're learning to do something which you're not. These things are your nature.
Mm.
I'll give a scientific example. Like if you look at the atom, the smallest structure in the atom, do you know what's in the center of the atom? Do you remember?
The
Center.
nucleus?
Nucleus,
Oh,
exactly.
yes. Okay.
So a nucleus is made up of neutrons and protons,
Hmm.
and the periphery in the atom is electrons. So if you look at the smallest structure in the matter, at the core, it's all positive. The negativity is only on the periphery. Same thing with us, this negative emotions, anger, stress, jealousy, whatever, they're all the periphery. The core, every single human being is joy, is peaceful. And with the help of the breath, you just go back to that nature of being joyful and peaceful. And then every act you do it as an expression of joy, not trying to get joy out of some action.
Hmm. It is a really different way of thinking about where joy and happiness and fulfillment come from, if they're coming from the moment, from the outside, rather than something that is already present to be tapped into. It's a particular view of human nature, which I do happen to agree with. Um, so I imagine, I mean, what is the case that a lot of people have been very hurt. And let's stay with work examples, been hurt at work, felt minimized, maybe betrayed. Uh, and let's suppose that they are suffering from these feelings where they don't trust, where they have bitterness, and they feel uncared for. And it's layers, years. How does what you're talking about help somebody to do something different to alleviate the suffering, the real suffering that people experience?
Yeah. See, at the end of the day, the suffering is what? Like it is triggered externally. And then you've taken things in. People have been behaving the way they have been behaving with you for so long. You've gone through injustice. You've gone through underappreciation for years. You've been told things about yourself which are not true, and you know it's not true, but you have to keep living with it, because at the end of the day, you want your paycheck coming in. So you have to, it's a hard fact or harsh truth
Yeah.
of a life to live with it. So it's you have some control over what others can do, but very little control. But only thing you have control over is how you deal with these things. And you give that pizza example, what you want to let into your system and what you want to keep it outside. And that can happen through the breath work, through the breathing exercise. You're able to have that shield around you where you don't take a lot of these things in,
Mm.
and you're able to, more importantly, even the stuff that is sitting in, you're able to throw that trash out.
Mm.
And that is so, it's like you go to a therapist, and again, nothing against that. I mean, that's also important. You go to a therapist, you sit with a therapist, and they'll tell you, you're feeling this way because somebody did this thing to you, or your mom said this to you when you're 5 years old, your dad said this to you when you're 10 years old. You kind of dissect what happened, and it's got some benefits to it. But more often than not, you come out with more regrets and grudges against people.
Mm.
And this is the breathing exercise, the sky breathing is like you leave the trash can outside, and the trash pickup comes on a Monday or Tuesday and takes the trash away. it's like that. You don't open the trash can, look at it, that this is the trash from Tuesday, this is the trash from Wednesday. You don't do that. Just throw everything out. And that's what the breathing, the sky breathing, why it's so effective is that it just years and years of the founder of Art of Living, Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, he's a world-renowned humanitarian. He uses beautiful example. He says that if a room has been dark for decades or years, you don't need decades or years to make it to bring light into it. You just switch on the light, you bring a candle, and the light just comes in. So
Mhm.
you may have gone through this darkness for years in your life, but you don't need light to be introduced for years for you to get rid of the darkness. The
Mm,
light just comes in, that prana, the energy, life force energy comes in, and you're able to naturally let go of that years of trauma and bad feelings.
mm. That's great. That's really, yeah, I love that. The darkness, right? You don't need to unlayer it, right?
Yeah,
Open a window, turn on a light. And
exactly.
so my last question for you
Yeah.
is, as you look into the future of work, what do you think needs to happen so that not only will all workers be treated with dignity and respect, but that they will be encouraged to thrive and flourish?
I think in both ways it's required. Not only just employees learning to regulate their own mind. Even I believe if every single employee, while they're hired, they're taught certain breathing exercise, certain tools, so that either you end up being a victim or you end up being a culprit.
Mm,
And we need to address both the aspects, not just one aspect. You cannot just keep addressing the victim all the time. You have to address the culprit also. If everybody were given these tools to deal with it, and many times it's, I tell people like one who has, I'll share a funny anecdote, like not a very interesting anecdote. As this was many years ago, I was riding in a cab in New York, and this is before you and me had Uber and stuff. And the cab driver, I was just chit-chatting with him, and then someone just completely cuts, another cab driver completely cuts him off. And if my cab driver had not applied the brakes at the right time, I mean, we would have definitely got into an accident. And instead of my cab driver honking and yelling at this guy, the other guy starts honking and yelling at this at my cab driver. And my cab driver just didn't say anything, just kept took the different lane, started driving. So then I told him, I'm like, you should be the one honking and yelling, not the other way around. So he turned back, looked at me, and he's like, sir, he has trash inside, so he's throwing out the trash outside. I don't have
mm,
any trash inside. Why should I throw anything out?
mm,
And that is so powerful. If everyone, future of workplace, future of human race, if we all are taught at a very early age, young age, to emotionally regulate yourself, to be able to handle your emotions better, I believe 90% of the situations that we end up seeing at workplaces can be avoided.
mm. Wow. That's very powerful. It's a great way to end. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today. And I encourage everyone to go to theartofliving.org. Is that what it
Yes,
is? So
yes, yes.
theartofliving.org to learn more. And I know I'm going to check it out because I am very interested in getting better at regulating my own emotions and my emotional responses. So thank you so much for being on Conflict Managed today.
Thank you. Thanks, Mary. I really enjoyed our conversation. It was very, very engaging and I loved how the whole thing went. Thank you
Me
for
too.
having me.
Take care. Shaylin, thank you so much for being on Conflict Managed. I really love everything that you were talking about. I am going to check out theartofliving.org because I definitely know that I could benefit from this. I have tried a variety of different avenues as I am on a quest to be better emotionally regulated so that I can show up in the world in the way that I want to show up. So thank you for the work that you're doing and for bringing that to our attention. Conflict Managed is produced by third-party workplace conflict restoration services and hosted by me, Mary Brown. You can find us online at 3pconflictrestoration.com. Come back. We have new episodes every Tuesday. And if you would like and subscribe wherever you are listening or watching this podcast, it's much appreciated. Our music is courtesy of Dove Pilot. And remember, conflict is normal and expected. Let's deal with it. Until next time, take care.